Hello guys, Zach here, and welcome back to round 2 of the Grandmasters League between I am Chris and CKF Tim, and this is game 2 between these two guys, and I've got to apologise straight away because this is a day late, and I know that. I'm sorry. I said at the first video that the second video would be coming up straight away, and I did actually record the second video straight after, and then I found out that it didn't record my voice, or it didn't record properly, either one of those, I can't remember, and it was a very long game, so I didn't have time to re-record it again yesterday because I was very busy in the afternoon, and by the time I got home I was simply too tired to sit down and commentate a game. So luckily enough for you, you get to see this one anyway, and you will still see 2 more GML games today coming up after this a little bit later on, and that is all good for the time being, but yeah, so that's the reason why this game is a little bit delayed, and I think yesterday's video didn't publish properly either because it was really slow to get a few views on that, which is really unusual. But with all that aside, let's have a look at what we actually have today. Well, a continuation of yesterday, that's what we have. This is the choice of Tim. Chris choosing Continental in that first game, and if you haven't seen the first game, click down to the right now like we have been doing in the previous videos. I'll assume you've clicked away in 3, 2 and 1. So Chris won that game, the Continental one, on his home map, and Tim has chosen to play Migration against Chris here, and it's going to be similar to the last one because we do have a Viking war. Chris in green over to the left of the map, his opponent CKF Tim playing as Vikings in blue on the right. And I know for a fact, because I watched this game yesterday while I was recording it and accidentally not recording, that it's a very long game, so I'm going to speed things up until we get it up to the feudal age. It's pretty much the same as we've seen for most of the migration games so far, in the fact that the start is very similar, luring the deer with the scout cavalry, making masses of fishing ships. But this game does last for quite some time, so I don't want to be sat here for an hour commentating this one because I have got 2 more games to do today. So unfortunately we are going to have to speed through it a little bit faster, but we'll still get to see the important parts of the game, and I'll still keep you updated. Of course, if you did yesterday click on the link below the video, you would have seen the updated score already, so it may be a little bit of a spoiler for you, but this is the game regardless. Second dock now going up for Chris. Tim with his second dock just about to go up over on this side, and we're going to see some mass fishing ships followed by a fast castle, which is the likely case on Migration. One thing to note about this map though, which makes it slightly different, is that Chris isn't actually joined to the edge of the map. Usually we see players here, for instance, where they've got one join, which means they can't send boats all the way around their island, which does mean, for instance, if Chris went around the right hand side, he'd have to go all the way around here, and all the way around here just to get to the fishing ships, whereas Tim can go either way. It doesn't really matter, he's still going to be able to get to the backwater of Chris very easily. One thing that's very unfortunate for Tim on this map is the placement of this gold. Look where that is, it's so close to the shoreline, and that is rather unfortunate, as that could lead to being attacked a little bit later on in the game. Chris, on the other hand, well, he's got his gold right in the centre of his island, well away from the shore, so he should be pretty safe for the time being. Until of course he has to move out onto the mainland to gather gold, and his wood as well, fairly decent position. He's a little bit close to the shore, but that's no big deal really. He's got a lot of wood camps very close to the centre of his map, and that is great for him. Tim then going up to feudal right now. Chris already feudal as well, and we'll see fast castles out of both of these guys, I imagine. If you have a look at their populations, 56 population and 53 population. It's a hell of a lot of population by 15 minutes in, and we will likely see a very fast castle from both of these guys as well, which I've already said, but we will also see galleys adding into the mix as well. We don't want to, well, say they don't want to risk losing the water control. Galleys coming out from all of these docks right there, and as you can see, Chris nearly ready to advance up to the castle age. He just needs his 2 feudal age buildings, his blacksmith and his market, which is is already up, and he will be going up to the castle age in a very quick time for migration, as you have to bear in mind that they don't start with 2 boar, which does mean they have less food on their starting island, and they do have to go quite heavily into fishing ships to make up for that. And there's the blacksmith, and we'll see Fast Castle straight after this villager comes out. How is Tim doing? Well, Tim looking to be a little bit further behind. He's only just getting his market up now, and his blacksmith is already up, so we'll see a Fast Castle out of him very shortly, probably after this villager comes out, and he will be a fraction of a second behind Chris, but it's no massive major deal. They are quite far away from each other in this map, and that does mean that Chris has a little bit of time now to, Tim still has a little bit of time before Chris can bring over a stupid amount of war galleys and do some real damage. But as you can see, moving out on the left with a couple of galleys right now, and so is Tim. They're going to meet head on. Tim also moving out on the right, as is Chris. And we'll see them probably having a little bit of a scuffle on the water very shortly. There we go, already getting involved there, and Chris a nice little bit of micro, meaning that he managed to save a little bit more HP on those galleys there. He could give chase, but he's deciding to go back, which is kind of odd. On the right hand side too, a little bit of a scuffle going on, and again Chris out microing or doing whatever he does that makes him always win in these situations. Well, no, not always, but yeah. I'm going to fast forward a little bit more now, because there really isn't that much going on just yet. Just kind of waiting for stuff to happen. We'll see what upgrades Chris goes for as soon as he reaches the castle age. That'll be quite cool to see. 98%, there we go. Let's have a look at his lumber camps and his mining camps. What upgrades is he going for? Well, first of all, we'll see from the docks, we'll see War Galley pretty much straight away once he has a free dock to research it from. Bodkin arrow straight away at the blacksmith, bow saw straight away at the lumber camp, and wood is one of those really important resources on this map. There you go, war galley coming out right there. But as I said, wood is a really important resource on this map. These galleys, they do cost 90 wood each, and that is quite a large amount of wood to be spending, and of course it's really important that you keep your wood income very high, hence the reason to research bowsaw and bitaxe once you got to the fuel edge straight away. So we can see as well a university coming out, that costs quite a bit of wood, and he's going to want to get ballistics from there a little bit later on to make his war galleys really that extra bit efficient. And of course he's going to need some extra buildings on the mainland, which will of course again require wood. So this wood upgrades on water maps so vital, very important that they get done. A little bit later on you'll probably go for the gold mining upgrade as well, and the farming upgrade will probably not be seen for quite a while, as of course at the moment no farms to be seen, as he's relying very heavily on these big fish. Very nicely done by Chris though, moving straight over onto the mainland, plonking up a monastery, getting a monk out and going to take this relic. And I like the way that Chris takes the relics, because we all know well how important relics can be in a long game. They can really give you a significant gold boost, and that really does impact how the game goes, I guess, in a way. You can afford more upgrades, you can afford more units, and that really does help. So Chris, with quite an early transport ship there, he may decide to move his scout over, oh he already has, moved his scout over onto the mainland, and he's going to be scouting that now. He's got a villager there as well, and he's going to be looking to find where he can see gold. He's going to be looking for gold and wood, of course, because the island wood at the start is likely to be running low fairly shortly already. They're getting through that very rapidly. Mainland wise, well, we've got gold right here, which is in a really tough spot for both of these guys to defend. This is going to have to be defended by a castle, otherwise this is going to be so easily harassable. If Tim loses the water, then there's no chance of him getting on that, and if Chris loses the water, well, he's going to need to defend that from Tim's ships on this side. Going to be an absolute nightmare to hold on to that gold pile. This one up here though, a little bit better for Chris even. He has got this in this situation where it's on the shore, but it's on his side of the map, so it's very easy for him to, well, not very easy, but it's much easier for him to defend that than it will be to perhaps defend this one. Still exploring the mainland though is Tim. Even on the mainland, he's got a sheep on the mainland, so he's got a little bit of an idea of what's what, but he's not spotted this gold pile up here just yet. That could be quite important for him to know where that is a bit later on if he decides to go and harass that or attack that. that, but I'm sure he's going to see that very shortly, because he's now moving out on the right hand side of the map with 9, 10, 11, 12 war galleys, and Chris is waiting for him. Chris with a good 9, 12, 15 war galleys in preparation to meet Tim here. One thing to note though, Tim does have +1 pierce armor on those war galleys, which is got from a research in careening, and he's already got that, so that's kind of interesting. He is going to be engaging Chris here with the better upgrades. We'll see how that one goes for Chris, because he has got significantly more numbers there. That's 18 versus 12. We'll see how this goes for Tim, but I've got a feeling he's going to have to retreat from this one. Over on the other side of the map, Tim moving in again, splitting his forces up, and so is Chris. Again, it could be pretty close. I'll keep an eye on that one in a minute, but as for this one, Tim retreating away, as he knows he will not be able to beat that many ships when he's that outnumbered. A bit of a bad engagement here from Chris. He's not really got all of his ships in the fray. He needs to get them all at the front line. Chris now forced to retreat on the left hand side. It's a bit of push and pull, push and pull. Tim massively outnumbering him here, and he's going to want to move his fishing ships out the way before they do get taken out by those war galleys. So Chris going to have to re-rally back here, and Tim going to chase him down. Of course, now Chris, this could be a good idea for him to go and push out on the right hand side. Not really sure what he's doing here. He could throw another dock up. He could be, yeah, there we go, another dock there, and he could push out on the right now, push Tim right back, as he is already retreating, but Tim bringing in reinforcements on the left. Good idea for Chris to bring some more units around so his flank doesn't completely get wiped out. He's of course going to want to make sure his war galleys are as safe as possible, his fishing ships, sorry, as safe as possible, and keep his war galleys in the large amounts of numbers, so he doesn't take severe losses if he is outnumbered a little bit. This monastery here on the shoreline, Tim could just be about to go and attack that, which would be cool. Would deny Chris that relic, which is a pretty good thing for him to do. This monk over here just about to collect this one up, and there's actually 4 relics on this mainland. There is one down here, there is one on the left here as well, and there's one over here and up to this north patch here, not to mention the one that's actually in the monastery, so there's actually 5, sorry. And it looks like Chris may lose this monastery if he doesn't engage Tim quickly here. Looks like he's going to come and move round, but if he doesn't actually go to engage, Tim could take out the monastery, and that's going to deny Chris quite a bit of wood for the monastery. It means he's going to need another Castle Age building in order to upgrade to the Imperial Age, which actually he already has just done in a very reasonable time. And also Chris is going to be denied that relic, but as we can see, Chris already up to the Imperial Age in a very nice time indeed. Tim on the other hand, not up to Imperial yet. He's just about to click up, I imagine. He's just waiting for a bit of population room so he can finish off this villager or something. He can afford the upgrade though, and it is 142 pop to 116. Tim with a huge number of boats on the water. Chris has got 48, but Tim is on 70 right now, and he's not that far from upgrading to the Imperial Age. So Tim looking in with a pretty good shout at winning this game. Don't want to call it too early on, because as usual anything can happen, but Tim, he's slowly getting up to the Imperial Age, but he has got so many war galleys. If you can keep these guys alive and then upgrade them to galleon, he's in with the shout of really taking the water. Chris, on the other hand, well, if we have a quick look, I believe he's already got Bracer and Galleon upgrade is done. He's also now got Careening, so his Galleons are very well upgraded indeed, and we should see a bit of a scuffle between him and Tim here. He's pushing out on both sides of the map, and he's looking to get really aggressive before Tim reaches the Imperial Age and gets Galleon himself. He's going to be moving out here though, but I don't think he's got enough Galleons on this right hand side to actually kill off most of this army. Tim kind of asleep here, not actually getting his war galleys engaged. He's retreating out of the way, a little bit slow to react and losing a few war galleys in the process. Not so great for him, but he's got a hell of a lot of them behind, and he could actually kill Chris off with what he's got here. He can almost afford chemistry, a little bit slow to go with the research on that. He's going to have to save up for that real quick and research it, though he can afford it, so I'm not sure why he's not got that one just yet. He's probably got bigger and better plans for the time being, but right now he's moving around on the right hand side, and he's going to be trying to do a double sort of flank, but as we can see, this could be a problem for Tim here. This gold very exposed, and if these war galleys or galleons even come down this side, could take out that gold. Over on the north side though, he he is starting on the right side even, he's starting to lose a lot of galleons against Tim here, and Tim with quite a lot to back it up. He may have the tech disadvantage, but he has got the numbers that he needs to probably send Chris back on this right hand side. Chris losing a hell of a lot of galleons, he's extremely outnumbered now, and I think that is going to cost him a little bit of the water battle here. Very badly played for Chris there. He should have retreated perhaps a little bit earlier, and he did give significant losses to Tim, but Tim with so many war galleys on the water, 62 right now, and Chris on 51, he's still outnumbering him heavily. Very nicely done pushing Chris back, but Chris, he's found the gold spot. He's killed off a lot of villagers, as you can see. Quite a few dead bodies lying on the floor right there, and he may even be able to take out this watchtower real quick. So this gold, a bit of a problem for Tim. Tim now unable to gather any gold on his island whatsoever. He's just relocated these villagers to wood, but as I said, look at that. That gold really in a bad spot for Tim, and losing a hell of a lot of villagers there as well, which is kind of unfortunate for him. No gold income, so to speak, and he's going to need that gold because he's researching Bracer right now. He's going to be getting chemistry as well, and he's going to be going for galleon, so his gold count is significantly less all of a sudden, and he's going to have to deal with that. But he has got the war galleys he needs to send Chris back if he just upgrades them in time. But look at this, Chris going to come in now and take out a lot of these fishing ships, and that is a big blow to Tim's economy right there. He's quickly trying to scramble to do something about this, but it looks like Chris going to be able to take out a few fishing ships here, and that is going to be a little bit of bad news for Tim. He's really not going to want to lose too many fishing ships, otherwise that could really impact his economy still. Even though it's late game now, or getting to be the late game, he really does still have these big fish here, and they really are going to help him out if he does manage to gather from them. For the time being though, it looks like Chris is just going to be forced back momentarily. Galleon upgrade for Tim completed, and Chris retreating on the left hand side. Tim has too many boats, too many boats, with 57 warships on the water. Chris with 49, still outnumbered massively, but Chris has got bigger plans. He's already got his monastery up again with 2 relics inside there, plenty of gold coming in from that. He's also got a new town centre up on this gold here, and he's got a wood camp over on the main area here, so he is already occupying the mainland very nicely indeed. He's going to probably be looking to expand and secure this area, because Tim, he has set foot down on the mainland, only to build a couple of houses so far, but it will only be a matter of time before Tim's wood runs out on his mainland, or his homeland even, and he will need to go onto that mainland to gather wood and even try and secure this gold, depending if Chris gets there first or not, which is unlikely, as this is on Tim's side of the map. So Tim looking to be okay for the time being. He's just getting his gold camp back up right now so he can gather a bit more gold. As you can see, very low on gold here with 53 gold in the bank. Chris with 1.3k gold in the bank. He just needs to hold on for the time being, both of them with chemistry right now, and Chris looking to gain a bit of water supremacy, but it's looking to me like Tim really still is the dominant figure on the water. But the problem for Tim now is that Chris is starting to take control of this mainland, a second town centre going up right there, and a castle as well. And you've got to bear in mind that these two town centres came at a cost. These two town centres came at the cost of less galleons, and if Tim can really outnumber Chris on the water, then he could actually take advantage of that and push it for an early victory. Though at the moment it's looking like Tim is retreating, and that is not so good for him. He needs to be a little bit more aggressive on the left side, I think, whereas the right side he is retreating right now as Tim is being chased away by Chris, and he's going to have to re-rally back at his base again, keeping his fishing ships safe. He's going to have to bring more galleons over in order to deal with this, but Chris actually retreating away. He's playing it quite defensively actually, and I must say, considering he's got quite good control of the mainland right now, he is playing it rather defensively, which is fairly interesting for me at any rate. Tim's starting to build a lot of houses on this mainland, and houses do take up quite a bit of space, so having so many houses on your starting island could be a bit of a problem. Obviously now building out onto this mainland, a barracks going down as well, but still no town centre for Tim, which does mean he's still only on the one town centre, which could mean that Chris, higher population perhaps, but no, they're neck and neck at 143 population each, and that is kind of cool, the fact that they are so close together at such a late stage in the game, at 35 minutes in. I'm going to fast forward things a little bit until we get to a bit more action. It looks like Chris is going to bring some galleons down on the right hand side right now, and this could be quite a big battle here. If Chris manages to win this, then he can push through and take out these fishing ships, which will really give him a big helping hand in winning this game. But it looks like Tim has got way too many galleons for Chris to deal with. He has gone stupidly heavy into water with a good 40 or so galleons right there in that group, and Chris forced to retreat straight away. He knows he's outnumbered massively. He's got more at the back, so he's going to try and bring those round. But if we have a look, all of Chris's navy is on this right hand side, whereas only half of Tim's navy is on the right, and he's still managing to hold him off. Look at how many galleons he's got over here. It's absolutely ridiculous. 88 warships and Chris on 50. That is a massive difference, and if Tim knew that difference right now, he probably would be able to push through, take the complete water control of the map, and really do a lot of damage to Chris from the shoreline. He could take out this town centre for sure, because galleons do have greater range than 6. They actually have 10 range, whereas the town centre only has 6, and they could attack from a distance, take out the town centre, deny this wood and the gold, and Tim could be laughing. But Tim playing it quite defensively, Chris too playing fairly defensively. Rarely are they both going out on a limb to go and do a major attack, but Chris now gaining control of this centre island, and this could be a real problem for Tim, because have a look, castle going up on the left hand side, a castle already up here which is protecting firstly this town centre and his waters, leading to his starting island, and this castle going up right here, right in range of this town centre, could be a real problem for Tim. And if Tim doesn't get much control of this main island, then Tim is going to eventually be whittled away. He may have more galleons right now, but Chris is playing it for the long game. He's playing it for the longevity. He's thinking ahead and thinking, well, once my island runs out of wood, I'm going to have to get wood from somewhere, and I'm going to get it from this mainland right here. And if Tim has the same problem where his wood runs out and he can't get onto the mainland to gather any wood, then he is going to have a real problem on his hands. But it looks to me like Tim's starting to push out on the left hand side now, and this could be huge for Chris, because Chris has absolutely nothing over here. He could lose all of his docks, he could lose a lot of villagers over at the shoreline, he could lose a lot of buildings as well, and this could be a real nightmare for Chris to deal with. He is just about holding on the right for the time being. I think he may just about have more than Tim on this right hand side, but again not engaging so well. He's going to have a little bit of a warning as he's going to see these ships coming in and attacking his dock over on the left hand side, so he's going to know that this is coming in, and he's going to have to deal with the right hand side of Tim real quick before sending his galleons over. Looks like he might just be able to break Tim here. Looking at what he can see, it seems to me like he might just be able to win this battle. We can tell already that it's going in Chris's favour due to the scores. Look at that, the scores changing so rapidly, and Chris is definitely going to beat Tim in this little fray on the right hand side. The number of warships dropping for both of them, 41 to 95 still though. It's absolutely crazy how many ships Tim does have. I'm surprised he's not on population just yet. 94 warships out of that means he's only got about 80 economy, whereas Chris is going to have a lot more economy with less warships and stupidly high population considering. The problem now is that Tim is coming in on the left hand side with that huge navy, and this is going to be a massive deal for Chris to have to sort out. I don't know what he's going to do. He's just about forcing Tim back on the right hand side, but I mean, how is he going to be able to take out that fleet with just these few galleons? He really doesn't have much at all. He's throwing up a castle here though, and that's a nice little idea. These castles going to be wedging themselves on the shoreline, and anything here is going to get killed off very quickly indeed. Trebuchet coming out now for Chris. Pretty nicely done actually. He's taken down this town centre here. He's denying Tim gathering this gold, and Tim making a castle of his own right here as well. Looks like he's going to be trying to take out this castle and trebuchet from Chris, but for the time being, Chris with a very firm hold on the mainland. Chris also researching Cap Trap. He's going to be moving in and trying to stop Tim even, from staying on this mainland too long. And in comes Tim's boats, but Tim is going to be faced with 2 castles from either side. And at this stage, it only does take 2 hits from a castle to bring down a galleon. If we have a look right here, there we go, one galleon going down. Galleons going down very quickly by standing in between these castles, and that is a huge deal for Tim. He can't afford to be around this. He's losing about a galleon every second that he stays between these 2 castles, but he's desperately trying to take down these trebuchets and prevent his castle from being lost, which is quite a good plan if you ask me, but he needs to get out of there quickly because Tim lost a hell of a lot of galleons. They are just dropping left, right and centre really quickly, taking a hell of a lot of damage from standing or being on the water between these 2 castles. We have a look, most of these galleons very damaged, and he needs to be very careful of that. Chris could have actually took out a lot more if Tim had stayed there for much longer. So Chris with quite a nice little score lead there, and he's moving out on the right hand side of the map right now with more galleons as well. See who can actually win this. It's looking like it's going to have to go one way or another eventually. For the time being, this little scuffle on here, trying to take down the castle of Tim trying to take down the castle of Chris, and of course if this castle goes down, it could be a little bit of a gateway for Tim to actually start to gain an advantage here. Moving in with his galleons in range of the fishing ships, in range of the trebuchet, but again between the 2 castles, going to lose so many galleons by standing here, but he's got to do it to take out those trebuchets and keep his castle alive and make sure it doesn't go down, trying to do what damage he can with his galleons here, but effectively throwing them away. Is it worth it? That's the question. A couple of these are so low on HP, they're going to be taken out so very quickly by the arrows of these castles, and more galleons just being lost. Not looking so good for Tim there, losing a very large amount of his fleet. But over on the right, we do have another scuffle, and it looks like Tim sent Chris back. Chris going to re-rally around this side, bringing some capped rams in on the shoreline to actually try and take some of the fire from these galleons, which is kind of useful if they're being patrolled. In comes the capped ram, and not for long. That one is down. Looks like Chris running out of stone here. He's actually got no stone left to repair his castle with, and the castle is going to go down. One more hit from that, and that castle is goodbye. That is not good for him, losing that castle there, and that could be a nice little gateway for Tim to run through here, do a bit of damage, take out this castle. Perhaps he could really push Chris off of this mainland by that castle going down. Of course, his navy's still in a bit of a bad spot. He's still going to be in range of this castle if he decides to go up a river, and there's another one just above here as well. So Chris pretty safe for the time being, but Tim taking out that castle was quite a big win for him, and it does mean he's able to keep this gold safe for a little bit longer. Over on the right hand side, we've got more docks coming out for Chris. He's really trying to gain control of the water here. I never thought I'd see that, a siege ram trying to take out a galleon. That is something. But Chris with a hell of a lot of siege rams already now. He's starting to make quite a few from these siege workshops, and he's already broken through this wall, which does mean he could send a few siege rams through here and do a hell of a lot of damage, A to this castle and B to these trebuchets. But these galleons coming in now, almost in range of this castle here, and he's going to have to be careful, as I said, because they will take out his galleons extremely quickly if he hangs around for too long. Chris, though, moving out on the right, still hugely outnumbered by Tim. Chris with 30 warships, Tim with 77. He's still got over double, and Chris really starting to push out on this mainland now, starting to take out these town centres, and Chris looking still very low on stone, which is a bit of a problem. He needs a bit more wood as well in order to create more galleons, and Tim, I've got to say, looking fairly strong at the moment, though Chris does have all of these siege rams, which could be used very effectively to come over here and take out these trebuchets. Let's see what he actually does here. He's already lost one town centre, so he's going to have to be careful not to lose this castle or this castle here as well, and he's going to have to be, of course, very careful. If he loses this economy here, then it is pretty much GG for him, as he won't be able to get wood from anywhere else. All of his wood on his mainland is depleted, apart from this little bit which he's not gathering from. Tim, on the other hand, was starting to gain control of the left hand side now, starting to gather a bit more stone for more castles, more wood as well here and here, because his island has run out of wood completely, and of everything really, and I'm not surprised. how many galleons he's got on the water. It would have took a lot of wood for him. Chris starting to clean out this right hand side down here, see what he can actually do. But Tim now with these trebuchets going to be moving forwards, looking to take out more castles, more town centres, see what he can actually see. He's moving these guys forwards, and he's actually going to go for this castle on the left hand side, which is kind of interesting. But in come the siege rams, and Chris could take out these guys pretty quickly. The galleons really do no damage to siege rams whatsoever. Look at that, absorbing so much of that damage. Gonna take out the trebuchets. 1, 2 hits, and 3 hits. It's gone. There we go for that. The castle will remain standing, and that is going to be a bit of a problem for Tim. He's not going to be able to get up through this little lake at all. Chris losing the water again on the right hand side though. He's really not keeping control of the water for very long at all, but the battle is now all about who can take the wood on the mainland, and Chris is going to be looking to push now, as he did just take out the trebuchets from Tim, and if he can take out the castle as well, then it might just be a little foothold into taking Tim out on this mainland. He's going to want to do that as best he can. Tim with the castle on the shoreline here, making sure everything is secure, speeding things up just a little bit because this game does still go on for quite some time. Chris now starting to batter through these walls, and he could move forwards now and take out this castle, but Tim coming in with a berserk. Kind of interesting choice to go for there. And more siege workshops going up. He's getting pretty serious. He needs to take out as much as he possibly can. He needs to slow Tim down on the water. At the moment he does have the score lead, which is fairly interesting because he's really not got any galleons at all. He's only got these few ones at the back, and that really is nothing in comparison to what Tim has right now. 36 for Chris, Tim on 80. His water advantage is massive, but the thing is, Chris is really looking to gain control of this mainland here, and he's starting to try and take out this castle, losing his siege rams pretty quickly to those berserks there, but a lot of siege rams still on the right hand side, absorbing a lot of fire from these galleons. But Tim now going to move out, and it's looking like Tim could be a real nuisance to Chris at this little island here, as his galleons are going to be coming in and doing quite a bit of damage indeed. Still a lot of wood being collected on this mainland, and this is what is keeping Tim in the game. It's also what's keeping Chris in the game. It's obviously very important to try and take this wood and keep it as safe as you can in the late game, because wood is going to be such a big thing to deal with. What did I hear just there? A stable coming up from Tim. Let's have a look at that real quick. And he's researching scale barding armor, light cavalry research being done as well. And it looks like Tim is actually getting ready to go and raid Chris's economy. If we can send some light cavalry over here, do some damage to these villagers, get in at the back, slay as many villagers as he can. Could be in with a shout doing a lot of damage, but this is where the real damage is coming from. Chris is losing so many villagers to the galleons over here. So many villagers just being slaughtered. If we have a look at all the dead bodies around here and here as well, he is losing a lot of villagers to these galleons, and he's going to have to do something about them real quick. Because not only has he got galleons at his shoreline, he's going to have light cavalry running through his base very shortly as well. Light cavalry able to deal with the siege rams, light cavalry able to kill off a lot of villagers. So Chris not looking so good on this mainland here, and it's going to be a bit of a problem for him to deal with. Starting to attack on the left now though. Excuse me. And he is moving out with some galleons over here. I'm not surprised. I'm surprised even that he's not pushing this. He's trying to find what he can attack. He might be able to hit a few villagers from the shore here, which would work out very well for him. I'm going to speed things up just a little bit more because we've still got quite a bit to get through. Chris going to try and take out this castle. He might just be successful because no one is stopping this trebuchet from doing anything whatsoever. Losing his galleons again on the right hand side. Got to be careful of that, but managing to kill off a few villagers at the shore here. Nicely done by Chris, preventing those wood villagers from collecting, and the castle is going to go down, it seems. Mass repairs coming in, and Chris bringing his galleons in as well, trying to kill off as many villagers as he can right here, and this castle is likely to go down in another hit. There we go, 127 HP remains. One more trebuchet hit and it will go down, and Chris, very nicely done, gonna gain a little bit of control here as he brings his galleons around, kills villagers from the shoreline. But now of course this gold has run out. Tim has no gold left and Chris has no gold left, and Chris now is going to be really benefiting from these relics. He does have 2 relics in here. How many relics does Tim have? Well, Tim has no relics. Why do you no collect relics, Tim? That could really help him out. But Chris going to be gaining the gold from the relics now, and it's going to be important to keep an eye on their gold count, as this is the last gold they're going to be able to get from this map. Chris on 960, Tim on 1.8k. Tim has a stupid amount of gold right now, and that's probably why he's not collected the relics just yet, which is interesting. But he will run out eventually, and he can't just rely on what he's got in the stockpile for the time being. Chris going to overtake him pretty quickly at this rate, because his relics will be bringing him in quite a bit of gold over time, which is going to help him out massively. More docks going up at the back, a siege workshop going up on the left. What is he going to do? Maybe some siege rams at this castle? Not 100% sure just yet, but Chris trying to take out these docks. Of course, in range of this castle, though, a little bit of a problem for him. But if he moves forwards with his light cavalry, with his rams and his trebuchets, he can really push Tim off of this island here, which would be great for him. Starting to deal some damage to these stables down here as well, taking them out, preventing Tim from doing much raiding. Tim didn't get much raiding done at all, actually. Only these villagers died from the boats of Tim, and Chris now with quite a few island villagers is running out of things to actually to do on this mainland. He's only got wood left to gather and a bit of stone. Again, trying to hold on to the water on this side. Looks like he's going to be able to do it. And now moving forwards with his own light cavalry, trying to do what damage he can to Tim's economy. And the answer is not a lot, because he's in range of these castles very easily here. Siege rams coming out for Chris over on this peninsula. He could be going for a few more stables at the back, which would be cool for him. And Chris going to win the water over at the top, it seems. So looks like Chris going to be making more light cavalry up here, more siege rams as well, trying to take out these docks, take out the castles from Tim. Moving forwards with the siege rams and the trebuchets now. Chris looking to get very aggressive on this mainland, dealing with the light cavalry over here by really just not caring and going for the buildings anyway. It looks like he's managed to take out all of these stables from Tim, and Tim has pretty much been eradicated from the right hand side. The left hand side still going strong though for the time being. He's got a few castles up in defence. He's got plenty of villagers gathering wood still, but the thing is now Chris actually forcing Tim away on the left hand side. Tim still coming in on the right with more galleons, and Chris still not with enough galleons to completely take the water control. But he's still got enough to deny Tim water control as well. Another castle going up on the shore here to protect these wood villagers, and as we can see, rams coming out from Chris still. Villagers trying to make more stables, being denied here by Tim's light cavalry. Pretty well done for him. But this castle will only be standing for a few more moments. I think Chris forgetting to bring his trebuchets forward, but this castle likely to go down as the siege rams are coming in, and Chris does have the light cavalry to protect them, which is kind of cool. And Tim losing docks here as well, not so good for him. Siege rams coming in and trying to do what damage you can with those. Light cavalry not the best at taking out siege rams. It takes quite a lot of time for them to deal a lot of damage, and the berserks really do quite a lot of damage in comparison. Looks like Chris isn't going to be able to get down this castle for the time being, but he has still got these trebuchets back here which he can use. And he has still got a lot of light cavalry as well. Tim trying to get a town centre up on this wood. Getting wood at this stage of the game so important. But Chris with a hell of a lot of light cavalry on the mainland right now. He might be able to get this castle down very shortly if he brings these trebs forward, and brings the light cavalry with it as well. He can't afford to lose them. They are such an expensive unit at this stage in the game when gold is really going to be running low. Tim though with 1,000 gold still, I'm surprised he's got that much. I'm wondering where he's starting to get that gold from. He's probably using the market quite excessively. If we have a look, the food sell price is really low. The wood price is going to stay quite high because wood is one of the most important commodities on this map, and of course stone will always be high because no one's really going to be selling their stone, as castles are going to be so important for keeping these areas safe. So food has been sold out to the max at the market. Neither of these guys really using food, and that's probably where Tim got his gold from. But again, once that runs out, he's going to be out for good, because he still does not have any relics, which is kind of interesting. Chris with a hell of a lot of light cavalries, as I said, a few siege rams and these trebs over here. He needs to move them forwards. Looks like he's just realised now, going to be moving them forwards very shortly and bringing his light cavalry to keep them safe, and that could be the downfall for Tim's castle castle here, and that is not going to be good for him. Looking at the upgrades on the cavalry, well, they're actually well apart, because Chris does have +4 attack, Tim with only +1, meaning that Chris's light cavalry so much better in that regard. They're going to be able to shred through Tim's light cavalry, and look how many he's got. That's almost 40 light cavalry there, and sorry, that's a good 30 light cavalry there even, and he is going to be able to keep his trebs safe by looks of things, taking out this castle, a trebuchet on the other side of the island as well. And if this castle goes down, it could be a little bit of an opening for Chris to take Tim away from this island. If he takes him out completely down here, then Tim is not going to be able to gather any wood whatsoever, and Chris could really push this game to his advantage. Another castle coming forwards here, making sure Tim can't get through this choke point without dying, and he's going to have to move his trebuchets forwards and take out the rest of the castles from Tim. But Tim really not looking like he's got anything left at all. One town centre down here is not going to cut it, haha. It looks like Chris is actually going to be able to just about take this game. I don't want to call it just yet, because still Tim could hold on. Look at the scores, an hour and 4 minutes in, and it's still so close. Chris starting to gain a little bit of an advantage now, though, as he's taking out Tim's castles. This castle will surely go down. There's very little that Tim can do to prevent that from happening. This one's going to go down, and now I think Chris can actually move forwards and take out everything else that Tim has. Just able to take out this castle. I imagine this town centre will go down next, and now just dealing with this town centre from these town centres even from Tim over at this little side. Tim just like, well, I was over here, I'm going to build over here, and then you're going to delete me from here, so I'll build back over here again. He's very resilient, and he's going to fight for it, but it's looking like Chris is really starting to gain an advantage now. 1,000 score lead, which has suddenly come from absolutely nowhere. Tim, interestingly enough, with some archery ranges here, though, what is he doing? What is he doing? Well, at the moment I have no idea, because I can't see. He could be going for skirmishes, just as like cheap trash, or he's actually got quite a bit of gold, so he could be going for arbalest as well. Not 100% sure on that one, but one thing is for sure, he is going to lose his control of this area of the map. He did make a monastery, but he never collected the relics, which is important to do. Going to lose a lot of villagers down here. This wood about to run out as Chris comes forwards and takes down this castle with his trebuchets very shortly. And here we go, Tim making crossbowmen and researching arbalest. Kind of an interesting choice to make. Not really sure how well that's going to work. They'll work fairly decently against the light cavalry, but Chris sees these archery ranges, and he makes some of his own at the back here. And he's going for skirmishes, so the perfect counter. He's kind of anticipated that quite nicely. A lot of dead villagers over here for Tim, and Chris on 192 pop right now, Tim on 118. Chris really starting to gain an advantage. If this castle goes down, then it could be huge trouble for Tim, as this castle is going to go down. One more hit and that is gone, and these villagers absolutely being massacred. Look at his population falling, 102, 101 and 100, and the castle falls as he drops below 100 pop for the first time in a while right now, and he's also being eradicated from this area of the map. Chris coming in, gonna force a reaction from Tim here, taking out his town centre with a siege ram and a few skirmishes back here to back things up. But Chris almost at population cap as well. Very, very good game from him, and I think actually it was after a little bit of a rocky start, but he's really started to push Tim away from this now. And this could be the beginning of the end for Tim, as he's lost all of his castles and he's lost a hell of a lot of villagers. If this area goes down and Tim gets forced off this mainland, then I think that is where this game is probably going to end. Bringing in the siege rams now, going to be able to soak up some of that arrow fire, going to be able to take down those buildings. Chris just needs to bring his light cavalry over, and at the moment they're in the wrong place. They need to be over on this side of the map dealing with these arbalests, because Tim is getting quite a lot of picks on these villagers, very quickly picking them off. Very nicely done indeed, and Chris is going to have to deal with that one very quickly, building a lot of skirmishes, researching elite skirmisher right now, and light cavalry is coming out as well. He's going to be able to deal with this fairly quickly, I think. If he just gets a few more units out, he's going to be able to get quite a few light cavalry. He's got plenty of stables to do so, quickly reinforcing, and if Tim loses this little area, then that is it, though he really doesn't have many trees left in this area either, so it's not looking good for him either way, but Tim, surprisingly, still with the water control. We have a look, 29 warships for Chris, and Tim on 60 still. He's just been a bit of a shame he's not been able to do so much with them. 60 warships on the water and nothing happening of it. He's not really been using them to great effect or to really do that much damage to anything. And now Chris has got his skirmishers coming out, and he has got light cavalry as well. He's going to be able to clean this up pretty quickly, I think. Waiting for him to take out these arbalests right now. And he's going to be able to do that in just a sec. Looks like Tim's out of gold. 55 gold for Tim. Chris on 125 and growing, because he does have these relics, really helping him out with a huge boost to his gold that Tim simply didn't have because of that. Finally, Tim using his galleons down here to some use, trying to harass from the shoreline, but it looks like Tim is out of this game. Chris taking the mainland very nicely, and Tim without the mainland and no wood on his homeland, what can he do apart from harass with galleons, which eventually Chris will be able to outnumber as he's got this wood and he's got the relics. So wow. What a game. Pretty much all of the wood on the entire map being taken out. Pretty much no wood left whatsoever. Look at this, absolutely gone from the map. A little bit of wood up here on the north, a tiny bit in the centre, but the rest of it just been absolutely cut down. And wow, I was actually amazed at how long that game went for. Chris, a bit rocky on migration it seems, but it looks like he might just be able to get himself a win here. His score really starting to gain the lead now, 2,000 score in the lead. He's got plenty of skirmishes out to deal with the arbalests from Tim. Tim's starting to throw out some elite skirmishes as well, and it really does not look like he wants to give in anytime soon, and that is fair enough. He's pretty resilient. He's going to hold on for as long as he possibly can, but it looks to me like Tim is eventually going to get eradicated here. Chris has got every advantage in this little position, taking out this town centre now, and Tim's army is also dead. Apart from these skirmishes, which can be cleaned up by light cavalry extremely quickly. Waiting for that to happen. Gonna get surrounded, gonna be caught in a little bit of a mix, and Chris gonna be sandwiching him. But it looks like Tim luring him back to his galleons so he can get some cheap, easy kills on these skirmishers. He's still not giving up, is he? He's gonna use everything he's got, but look at this. Chris with a huge navy coming round, and if Chris takes out these boats from Tim, then that is all that Tim has left, and Tim losing a lot of units on the water. Chris with 36 galleons, Tim even with 25 right now. I don't know what he did to lose all of those galleons. He must have had a scuffle with Chris and lost, which I missed unfortunately, but Chris coming round on this right hand side with these galleons now, and if he takes out these galleons from Tim, then Tim has got absolutely nothing left whatsoever. We'll have a look at Tim's population right now, 86, Chris on 185, that's 100 difference, and Chris going to be trying to attack from the shoreline still. Not for long though, he just needs to take out these galleons and Tim is going to be GG'd because there's nothing left that he's going to be able to have. He knows exactly where he's at, he's going to bring his galleons around now, he thinks perhaps I can have this. Taking out this town centre, oh so close, almost taking out that town centre. Tim's still building villages interestingly enough, just waiting for Chris to come round with these galleons. What is he doing? Just needs to take out the galleons from Tim and Tim's going to have nothing left. 97 population for Tim right now. Chris, come on man, bring them in, you can do it. In he comes with the galleons right now. Tim gonna lose the water once and for all. Come on Chris, you've got the numbers you need there. You're massively outnumbering him. Just attack, you've got nothing to lose. He's attacking this. He's eradicating the skirmishes. Look how many skirmishes he's got. And Tim dropping the population significantly now. 96 pop, 93, 92. And I think the water's going to be lost for Tim. And once the water goes down, that's it. Chris is going to win the game. And Tim resigns. GG from him. 2-0 for Chris. Wow, what a game. And Chris takes it 2-0. Which does mean that Tim lost again. That means Tim is still at the bottom of the scores, and Tim has gained himself 3 points from winning that one. What a marathon of a game though, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more from them. I'm also looking forward to see if Tim can pull this back. Not off to the best of starts, losing 2 sets in a row, 2 games in a row against Chris, and really a little bit worrying for him. Chris though getting back into shape, it seems, taking out Tim and having a pretty good day, winning the migration by quite a small margin actually. A very big map, almost completely taken of wood, and a very good map and a very good game indeed. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a little like. There'll be 2 more videos on the way today from the next set of the Grandmasters League. Until then, I will see you next time.